Welcome to Reaper's Creepers. Step into the shadows, where tales of the unknown unfold. Relax, listen, and drift into the dark. I'm Riley, and if you've spent as many years as I have elbow deep in motorcycle guts, you'd know they've got souls of their own. Not just quirks, real personalities. Stories only those truly attuned can hear, those who know how to listen to what the machine is telling you. Step out to the back of my shop, and you'll see what I mean. A graveyard of wrecked bikes, their frames twisted, their souls caged. Some of them are tragedies. A chopped Harley that carried a kid to his last ride. A Yamaha that broke a drifter's heart. Others are pure evil. Those are the ones that need to be restored, to keep them quiet. In their beat-up state, they call out, begging to be fixed, luring victims in with promises of the open road. The few I've restored so far, sorry, I meant the ones we have restored so far. I don't do this alone. They gleam on display in my shop, preserved, not for sale or riding. That's what keeps them dormant, their souls quiet, until some fool throws a leg over to ride them. How'd I end up running this haunted chop shop? Well, that's a long damn story. It all started with a Norton Commando and a beautiful woman in a red dress. Back when I was a different man. A jaded punk who thought a fast bike could outrun anything, especially his own mistakes. Back then, I was who I was. A guy in my early 30s, holed up in my shop off Route 66, where the air was thick with grease and regret. Too many movie binges had me tossing one-liners like wrenches. Cynical from fixing Harleys for posers who thought a leather jacket or a cut is what made a man tough. Motorcycles were my life, each with its own attitude, like my old Triumph that wouldn't start unless you talked dirty to her. A stubborn bitch I couldn't help but respect. Out back, the lot held a mess of wrecked and broken down bikes, scrap and parts, nothing special. At least that's how I viewed it back then. Most of it was there when I bought the place. There wasn't much that came into the shop that I couldn't salvage or repair. I'd scavenged the lot frequently for spares, and often thought about restoring some of those bikes one day, when I had the cash or more patience. Never got around to that until later, but I'd eye them sometimes, wondering what stories they'd tell if I brought them back to life. Beautiful women, though, they were my kryptonite. Their smiles hitting me harder than pinning your hand to a frame with an air wrench, and I never saw them coming. It was a slow Tuesday, the shop quiet, except for the buzz of the neon open sign that flickered like it was on its last legs. A guy rolled in with a late 1960s Norton Commando, cherry red, but showing its age, faded paint, scuffed chrome, a bike that had seen better days. He was middle-aged, flannel shirt, and reeking of hipster. I did my best to not hold it against him. His hands were calloused, like he'd been wrenching for a while. He wasn't just wearing that non-conformity like a uniform sipping on microbrews. I can't get it to run, he said, frustration clipping his words. Been restoring it for months, checked everything, fuel, battery, wiring, nothing's wrong, but it won't go. Fix it or I'm scrapping it for parts and moving on to another project. He paid up front, no haggling, and pushed the Norton into my bay, its headlights staring, like it was sizing me up. I nodded, thinking, another day, another puzzle. Truth is, I love this part of the job, diagnosing a bike's secrets, taking it for a spin to feel its heart. Keeps me sane, keeps me wrenching on them. I decided to do a quick assessment of the Norton after closing the shop, even though it was dark, having only a single bulb swinging overhead, casting long shadows that were dancing across it. The spectacle kind of put me into a trance. I'm not sure how long I stared, fixated on it. It wasn't planned, but I had a little time to kill before heading out to find some entertainment for the evening, and her name was Lila. I checked the basics. Tank full, battery charged, spark plugs were fresh. The Amal carb was getting fuel, and the jets were clean. I kicked the engine over. It was smooth, no hiccups, and fired right up purring like a cat that'd been faking sick. "What's your deal?" I muttered, half expecting an answer. The bike ran fine, better than it should for its age, with none of the issues the guy complained about. Maybe he'd missed something intermittent, a glitch that only showed up under load? Only one way to find out. I grinned as I grabbed my helmet. Test rides are the best part of this gig. Feeling a new bike's soul, the road under you, the wind cutting through the bullshit. I'd planned to hit Rusty's Tavern after, catch up with Lila, the chick I'd met there 2 nights ago. Red dress, glowing porcelain skin that I desperately wanted to touch and feel, and stunning gray eyes that hooked me in like a fish. The kind of trouble I was too dumb to avoid. But first, the Norton needed a shakedown. It was past midnight when I rolled the Norton out, the shop's radio spitting static as I locked the door. I glanced at the rear lot. Wrecked bikes sat quiet, their frames glinting faintly under a half moon. Just scrap, waiting for a purpose, I thought. I kicked the Norton back to life, its engine humming steady. No protest. The road outside was empty, the kind of empty that makes you feel like the last guy on earth. I eased onto Route 66, letting the bike stretch its legs. The throttle responsive, the ride smooth as whiskey. No stutters, no misfires. Whatever the owner's problem was, it wasn't here. I pushed harder, the speedometer climbing, the wind sharp against my face. It wasn't long before I forgot about Lila, forgot the shop. It was just me and the Norton, its soul alive under me, its heartbeat strong. Then it got weird. I'd meant to head toward Rusty's, a straight shot through town, but the Norton felt insistent, like it was nudging me left, toward the desert outskirts. I'm not one for hunches, but my gut said go with it, like the bike was begging me to explore. I turned. The road narrowed, asphalt giving way to gravel, then dirt and sagebrush scratching at the tires. The headlight cutting into the dark, unknown. At some point, my sense of time slipped. Had I been riding 10 minutes or an hour? The stars looked wrong, too bright, and the air smelled of dust and something sweeter, like perfume gone stale. I shook my head, muttering, "Get it together, Riley. You're not hallucinating." But my grip on the bars felt distant, like I was passively watching myself ride. The Norton eventually slowed on its own, forcing me to a stop at a clearing I didn't recognize. It was a patch of nowhere, surrounded by twisted trees that hadn't been there a second ago. Or were they? My heart kicked up a bit, and I blinked hard, half convinced I was seeing things. There was a small, decaying barn off to my side about 30 yards away, its wood warped, windows black as oil. The Norton's engine idled, a low purr, like it was waiting. "What the hell is this?" I said aloud, my voice swallowed by the quiet. I dismounted, boots crunching onto the desert ground, and approached the barn. The perfume smell stronger now, making my head swim. Inside, a single table held an old printed map of my town, dated but somewhat currently accurate. Older roads showed their loops and dead ends that didn't exist anymore, and new streets I drove daily were missing. What really got my attention was the red X. It marked an old graveyard, one I'd passed 1,000 times but never stopped at. I stared at the map, my hands shaking, not sure how long I'd been standing there. Minutes? Hours? Outside, the Norton's headlight began to flicker like an old film projector, and for a second, I swore I saw a familiar-looking woman's silhouette in the beam. Red dress, dark hair. Then she was gone when I blinked. "I'm losing it," I muttered, rubbing my eyes. But the map felt real, with that X continuing to burn into my brain. My phone blared from inside my pocket as I jolted awake, except I wasn't in the barn anymore. I was laying down on my old leather couch back at the shop, alarm blaring, and sunlight slicing through the windows. It was painful and blinding. Sweet baby Jesus, what did I drink last night? I angrily mumbled to myself, still in a state of shock. All my clothes were still on, including my riding jacket. All were caked in red dust from a road I didn't remember riding on. Sure, the dirt road last night was dusty, but it wasn't red. Was it? Is that where that perfume smell is coming from? I slowly grabbed the phone from out of my pocket to shut off the alarm and saw an unread text from Lila that glowed on my screen.
Missed you last night, Riley. Come back to the bar soon.
I quickly sat up, my heart pounding. The map's X brightly flashed in my vision for a second, remaining vivid in my eyes, like a camera flash spot. Was last night a dream? Couldn't be. The dust on my clothes said otherwise. Weird didn't begin to cover it. What the hell, man? Was all I could mutter, wide awake now. That damn map's red X was lodged in my head all morning. And Lila's text, "Missed you last night, Riley. Come back to the bar soon," had me rattled, like I'd kicked over a hornet's nest. Why am I seeing this chick everywhere? I only talked to her for a little bit at Rusty's. Thinking about our encounter sucked me back in, that red dress, those gray eyes, her soft glowing skin. I shook my head, attempting to refocus on the task at hand, and that was figuring out what the hell was going on. I know I've got a one-track mind, but damn, this is nuts. I knew sure as hell I didn't give her my number. As I continued thinking out loud, my eyes drifted to the jacket on the couch, still caked in that red dust. Definitely the source of that stale perfume, I thought. Even after my shower, the smell was crazy strong. It had to be. What the hell? That ain't dust from any dirt road around here. I closed my eyes, frustration clawing at me, and saw the Norton in my head, its headlight flickering like it was taunting me. Or, hell, maybe trying to spark a seizure. It was barely noon, the shop dead quiet, as I wandered to the back window, staring at the wrecked and scrapped bikes. Something in me itched to dive into a project like always. Maybe when I wasn't scraping by, I could restore that Yamaha with the decent tank I thought. "This is stupid, Riley," I muttered, snatching my old Ford Ranger keys from their hook. As I did, the shop's radio began spitting static like it was laughing at me. I didn't know what its deal was. It was humming fine 3 days ago. Gotta shut that damn thing off before it completely craps the bed. Looking down at the keys in my hand, I decided to do it when I got back. The graveyard was a short haul, 10 minutes past town. I needed answers, not another distraction. The drive felt wrong. Route 66 too quiet, the air thick with wet dirt and that stale perfume. I took the Ranger. No way I was messing with the Norton, not after that head trip last night. Once I got to the graveyard, I was met with an ancient-looking iron gate that looked like it hadn't seen paint or lube since the damn Stone Age. It was so corroded that I thought it would fall apart if opened. I couldn't remember the last time I had a tetanus shot. Oh well. It did open without too much protest, letting out loud shrieks and groans as I swung it, like it was pissed I disturbed it. Headstones jutted out like broken teeth, some crumbling, some fresh. Many names were faded under lichen. I didn't need the map. I found the grave fast. That X was seared into my brain. 1968. No name. Just a chipped stone with a motorcycle carved deep like someone meant it. Kind of looked like a Norton. My breath hitched as I crouched, brushing dirt off the stone. My fingers tingling like I'd grabbed a live spark plug. Then the wind kicked up, sharp and cold, carrying her voice.
Riley, you're so close.
I spun, heart slamming. "Lila?" I called. But the graveyard was empty, just me and the dead, all confused and pissed. As I closed my eyes, the Norton's headlight flared in my mind again, and when I opened them, I swore I saw her. Red dress, dark hair, with her gray eyes glowing in the distance. Then she was gone when I blinked. "I'm hallucinating or fucking losing it," I growled, rubbing my face. That perfume was choking me now, and my watch read 4 o'clock p.m. 3 hours gone. Like I'd been stuck in a damn trance. Next thing I knew, I was in the Ranger, engine off, parked on a random back road miles from the graveyard with no memory of driving. The gravestone still burned in my mind, her voice echoing. "What the hell's happening to me?" I muttered, cranking the ignition. I needed answers and needed them now. I decided to stop by Rusty's on my way back to the shop. As I walked in, the bartender Adam spotted me, his face twisting into a mirror of the mess I probably looked like.
"Bro, you good, man?"
he asked, leaning over the bar. "Great," I shot back, voice flat.
"Well, you don't look it.
He said, wiping a glass.
Didn't look that great 3 days ago either."
I frowned, leaning in. "Why you say that? I had a blast here the other night. Met a real good-looking chick. She was cool. She knew motorcycles." My voice trailed off, stopped by the confusion and disbelief on his face, like I'd just claimed I rebuilt a Harley with a paperclip.
"What are you talking about?"
Adam said, setting the glass down hard.
"You sat at the bar alone, refusing to talk to anyone. Barely said shit to me, just kept muttering another 2 shots of whiskey with this creepy-ass smile. Freaked out a lot of folks."
I stood there, gut punched, my mind spinning. I remembered being here, chatting up Lila all night, her red dress and gray eyes pulling me into her again. "Focus, Riley." Yeah, I was a bit antisocial, trying to score, so I didn't chat with the regulars. Figured they knew the deal. But Adam was saying there was no Lila, like I'd imagined the whole damn thing. "What the hell?" I said out loud, louder than I meant, making Adam tense up, his hand hovering near the Mossberg he always kept propped up under the bar. "No bullshit?" I asked, softer, cutting the tension.
"No bullshit,"
he replied, dead serious, his eyes locked on mine.
"To be honest, I was worried about you, man. Never seen you like that. You'd get stuck in your head sometimes, but not like that."
"Thanks, bro," was all I could mutter, my brain grappling with the idea that the night was either a hallucination or worse, real, in a way I couldn't grasp. "Did I go out to the parking lot that night?" I asked, grasping at straws. Adam's brow furrowed, confused again.
"Yeah, you just stood by your Ducati, staring off into space for like an hour. I was about to check on you when I saw you gear up, smiling like a damn loon, then ride off."
We stared at each other, the silence heavy as a dropped wrench, until he forced a grin.
"Bro, you didn't just check out on me again, did you?"
I laughed, a real laugh, because this was so absurd it was all I could do. "No," I said, shaking my head. "Just been real distracted the last few days is all." Total lie, and Adam knew it. His eyebrows raised, nodding like he was sure I was one bad day from a psych ward, which, to be fair, wasn't far off. "I gotta get back to the shop," I said, turning for the door. "See you later." He nodded, that knowing look saying he wasn't buying my shit, but he let me go. Back at the shop, the scrapped bikes glinted under a blood-red sunset, like they were staring me down, or maybe I was staring them down, looking for something solid to ground me. I needed a distraction, anything to pull me out of this head-spinning madness, but I ended up crashing on my leather couch instead. Mentally and physically, drained like I hadn't slept for days. As I closed my eyes, the radio began to hiss Lila's name in the static. Or was I just hearing things? Of course I forgot to shut the damn thing off. It'll probably fry itself by morning, I thought, trying to tune it out. Just as I started to sleep, my phone buzzed. Another text from Lila.
"You're late. I'm at Rusty's."
I cursed, my head pounding. Was I blacking out like a drunk, losing my grip and memories? I looked over at the Norton still sitting in the bay, its chrome gleaming under the shop's flickering bulb, like it was begging me to fire it up and rip the throttle wide. I ain't no detective, but Lila, whoever or whatever she was my only shot at figuring this out, and I wasn't waiting for another Norton mind trip ride to track her down. I needed to get back to Rusty's. Before leaving for Rusty's, I called the owner of the Norton and told him his bike was done. He sounded stoked over the phone, then dropped a bomb. "A woman in a red dress referred me to you 2 days ago. Said you're the best mechanic around. If you couldn't fix it, nobody could." I damn near dropped the phone. That was 1 day after I met Lila. Brunette, glowing porcelain skin, piercing gray eyes. I asked, my throat tight. Yeah, you know her? He asked enthusiastically. She spoke very highly of you and your reputation for working on trouble bikes. No, I said, honest as hell. I don't know her at all, but I've seen her around. She's hard to miss, he laughed. Sure is, I muttered, pain twisting my gut. Sexy as hell, knew a ton about older bikes, loved my Norton, said she had a special place in her heart for them. He continued to ramble on, so I cut him off. Anyways, it's ready to go. Awesome. I'll be there first thing in the morning to pick it up, he said. Great, I'll see you then, I replied, slamming the phone into its base. That poor fool, he has no idea how troubled that bike is, I muttered, grabbing the Ranger keys on my way out the door. I arrived at Rusty's Tavern for the second time that day, my favorite old neon-lit shithole, the kind of joint where the beer's warm and the regrets are free. I parked the Ranger, leaving the Norton behind. Screw that bike and its mind games. It'll be gone in the morning, hopefully taking Lila with it. I know it's tied to her somehow. No idea how, but I feel it in my bones. Inside, the jukebox whined what sounded like a Johnny Cash cover. Probably that new band Volbeat I'd heard on the radio. Lila was at the bar, red dress clinging to her like it was painted on, porcelain skin glowing under the flickery lights, gray eyes pinning me like a bug. She was even more alluring than the other night. I hadn't noticed then, but now I saw it. Her style was pure vintage, like she stepped out of a 60s flick. Her hair was permed long, not that god-awful 80s poof from my childhood, and her dress screamed late 60s, not some thrift store knockoff. She looked like a damn Bond girl, but I knew better. This chick was a femme fatale, through and through.
You ghosted me, Riley,
she said, voice low, a smirk that said she knew I was spooked. I slid onto a stool, hands unsteady. I've had a weird night, Red, not in the mood. She leaned in, close enough I caught that perfume less stale now, her breath cool. I ignored her while glancing at Adam behind the bar, his face all concern as he held a whiskey bottle. I nodded, and he grabbed a glass, pouring me a shot and setting it down.
We good tonight?
He asked, worry creasing his brow. Yeah, I replied, flashing a smile and a wink. Sunshine and rainbows, bro. He left the bottle and glass, then turned away to other patrons.
Very cute, you liar.
My gaze shifted back to Lila as I poured myself another round. With an accusing glare, she said,
You ditched Jess, didn't you? She wanted a future, scared you shitless, so you bailed.
My whiskey glass hit the bar hard, splashing. Adam spun around, concern now edging into anger. I opened and closed my right hand fast, gripping my forearm with my left, playing up an old bike accident's nerve damage as an excuse. He stared, suspicious, but I grinned wide, all innocent-like. He wasn't buying it, but went back to work.
You're not very sexy when you're nervous.
She mocked, almost pouting. Jess was my ex, a wound buried under years of grease and denial. Nobody in this town knew that, not even Adam. Who the hell are you? I demanded, voice rough. Her eyes glinted like the Norton's headlight.
I see what you run from, Riley, and she is the reason you are here in this town. I saw it when you rode her. My Norton.
I stood, knocking the stool back, and she laughed.
You're so cute when you're scared, Riley.
It cut through me like a sheared gear. Adam glanced over, his look saying that I'd worn out my welcome. I dropped some cash on the bar and faced Lila. You're crazy, lady, I said, storming out with as much dignity as I could muster.
Don't ride it again, Riley,
she pleaded. Whatever, was all I managed to come back with, drawing stares from several nervous people. Outside, the Norton sat in the lot. Fucking impossible. I'd left it at the shop. Its paint was glossy, not faded, the chrome polished. Its headlight flickering like a bad movie projector, and saw her face in the beam. Lila, smiling, her red dress bleeding into the dirt. I'm done with this shit, I growled, jumping in the Ranger, throwing gravel as I peeled out of the parking lot. The shop. I needed the shop. That wasn't the same Norton I'd been working on. Or was it? When I got back, the Norton was there right where I left it, faded paint and all. What the hell? The damn radio went nuts, static blaring, playing even after I yanked the plug. I smashed it into the floor over and over until it shut up. The Norton just sat there, silently mocking me. I knew what I had to do. The puzzle was almost complete, just a few pieces left. I grabbed my helmet and jacket, opened the bay door, and kicked the Norton to life. I rolled out hard onto Route 66. The bike was rough, like wrestling a pissed-off beast. She didn't respond like last time. Like two separate wills were fighting for control, each with its own agenda. Out of nowhere, the Norton nudged me left, onto a back road that wasn't on any map. The asphalt was too clean, air thick with fog and Lila's perfume. Then time blurred. Minutes, hours. The headlight reflecting off the fog showed Lila in 68, riding the Norton, her hair whipping in a storm, pushing it too hard. Some guy's laughing face appeared. He looked like the typical douchebag poser I hated. Then he was gone. I saw Lila again, her eyes wet with tears and rage as she crashed. She laid limp on the ground, lifeless, the rain diluting her blood, the wet dirt slowly consuming it. I gasped as I hit the clutch and brakes, desperately wanting this ride to end. The road snapped back to reality, the Norton's engine at idle as we coasted along the road, slowly rolling to a stop. It knew it had spilled its secret. Lila's voice hummed in my head, not the wind.
You can feel it, Riley. The Norton has us both now.
The bike stopped, my boots crunching gravel, heart pounding like it was bouncing off a rev limiter. My phone said 3 a.m. Hours vanished again. I got a fresh text from Lila.
Please come back.
I took a deep breath and sighed, dropped the Norton into gear, and turned back toward the shop. When I got there, I parked it, its chrome smugly glinting in the moonlight. The hot engine and exhaust pinging, breaking the silence of the night. I listened for a while, fixated on the Norton. More clarity now. I was in deep. Lila wasn't just some bar chick. She was tied to this Norton, to that grave, to the spot in the desert. I rolled the Norton into the shop and grabbed a large hammer, its weight grounding and calming me. I knew what I had to do. Unfortunately, destroying the Norton wasn't it. I was ready for the final piece of this puzzle. I needed to clarify my suspicions with Lila first. Before I could proceed, I needed to clear my head, wipe the slate clean and let the pieces fall into place, a process I knew all too well from long before this nightmare began. I turned, my gaze locking onto my Ducati, a 2008 Sport Classic 1000S, tuned with a full Termignoni exhaust, a masterpiece I'd snagged years before Tron Legacy cemented its fame. I grabbed my 6th gen iPod Nano, headphones in hand, the glitch mob already queued. I had neglected her the past few days, despite our rides being the only time I felt truly alive and at peace. Fear had crept in. Fear that this madness might taint her, severing our bond forever. Yet the notion of her as my guardian, which had flickered in my mind before, now hit with full force as she roared to life. Guilt stabbed at me for ignoring her, but it faded fast. Clarity washed over me with the first rev, goosebumps prickling my spine. Outside, I hit play on the Nano. Animus Vox kicked in, a fitting anthem, I thought. I cranked the volume up, drew a deep breath, dropped the Ducati into gear, and cracked the throttle. Lila was waiting, and she needed me. Rusty's was a ghost town when I rolled into its gravel lot on the Ducati, the inn long closed. I killed the engine, coasted to a spot out front, and dismounted, hanging my helmet on the grip. Adjusting my jacket, I pulled off my headphones and caught Lila in the corner of my eye, leaning against the inn, where she hadn't been a second ago. The night was dead quiet, save for a neon sign buzzing like a dying wasp, and the faint pings of the Ducati cooling in the chilly air. Lila stood still, her red dress faded, gray eyes raw, like she'd been battling demons all night.
I love the sound of that bike.
She said, gazing at the Ducati, her voice a whisper, eyes glistening with unshed tears. I know you do, Red, I replied softly, and I know why now. Her gaze lifted to mine, fighting tears, her form flickering in and out. I stepped closer, face to face, the weight of her stare heavy. That spot in the desert. You died there, I said.
Yes.
She admitted. The grave, it's yours? I stated, already knowing.
Yes.
She confirmed. Tonight, the Norton, she cut me off, voice sharp.
It's evil, Riley. Stay away from it.
I nodded. I know. But how are you two connected? What's your story, Red? Why are you and that Norton after me like a bad debt? She crossed her arms, jaw tight, but her eyes betrayed her. Pain, like I'd pried open a rusted lock.
You really want to know, Riley?
Her voice was low, cutting.
We're not after you. We're fighting over you. The Norton wants you. I don't.
I raised an eyebrow, smirking. You don't want me, Red? Doubt that. Her expression hardened.
No, I don't. I'd rather you stay free, not trapped in the Norton alone.
I nodded, piecing it together. The radio at my shop, the map, the grave, warnings from you? I asked.
Yes.
She said. Why didn't you just tell me at the bar? I snapped, frustration slipping through.
Would you have believed me?
She fired back fierce. I sighed. No, probably not. You're right. So let's cut the bullshit, Red. You know my dirt. Why'd the Norton choose you? Who was that clown I saw in the fog?
That was Calvin, my beau, my everything back in '68. Loved me like fire, then ditched me for some safe little nobody who didn't burn like I did. Broke me in half. After him I was poison. Mark, Eli, a few other riders. I was permanently on the make. Used 'em, ghosted 'em, 'cause they could never fill his shadow. I bought the Norton at this dive bar in this very lot, red as my rage, running too smooth like it knew my pain. I rode it to escape him, but the Norton fed on it, lured me into pushing too hard in a storm, crashed. It wouldn't let me go, bound me to its soul, to this dive where our connection was made. Since then, the Nortons passed from rider to rider, all lured to fix my reckless damage. Took decades to rebuild. It's only been a few weeks since it was mostly restored, letting me walk Rusty's again, watching people, seeing what I've missed. Then I saw you, Riley. You've got fight, that fire, that defiance. You run, but you don't break. You're not broken like I was, and you're not a coward like he was. I'm not chasing Calvin's ghost. More importantly, I'm here for you. Nobody knew my name after I died. That's why my grave's got no name. I knew nobody here. You saw me, truly saw me, even as I am now. That's incredible. I couldn't let the Norton take you from me. I've got no one, Riley.
Her voice cracked, eyes wet, and I felt it. A pull, maybe love, but mostly two broken souls still sparking. Two lost souls, swimming in a fishbowl. Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here started playing in my head, but I pushed it aside. I had to focus. I like women, but I don't commit, I admitted. Jess wanted a ring. I wasn't ready, knew it'd crash and burn, so I bolted. She got married right after, then a few more times. Good for her, she seems happy now. Before her, Sarah played me, ghosted after I rebuilt her junk Yamaha for free. Tara, after Jess, stole my tools and what was left of my trust. I accidentally called her Sarah one night. That's all it took. Not my fault they're so similar. Lila half smiled.
I know about Isla.
She teased. I'm sure you do, Red. Why you think I call you that? I smirked. Her smile widened, genuine, flattered by the nickname. I haven't found one worth sticking for. That's why I run, I continued.
Why you think I couldn't let the Norton take you tonight? I was teasing earlier. I needed to be sure.
I leaned in, my left hand against the wall above her shoulder. her words hitting like a seized engine. That's a hell of a story, Lila. But you don't get to mess with my head just because I'm some echo of your ex. Just because you got alpha widowed doesn't mean I have to pay for it. I'm not Calvin, and I'm not Jess's mistake. I've been running from my own shit. No one's trapping me. Not you, not that Norton. I leaned closer, our breaths mixing, the air thick with that damn perfume. Raw, intoxicating, and for the first time it smelled good. You want me? We do this straight. We fix the Norton, restore it fully, like it's new, and keep it off the road. We face our messes, my running, your ghosting. No more games. Her gaze held mine, fierce but worn, like a bike with too many miles. Deal, Red? I asked, voice steady. She looked down at her hand, then brushed it along my right hand, the one I'd damaged in a crash years ago. Her touch was soft, real, electric, every bit as wild as I'd imagined when I first saw her. She looked up, matching my gaze, and whispered,
How? I'm still bound to the Norton.
I pulled back slowly, turning toward the Ducati. That's how, I said. Still got that same anger and rage from when you got the Norton? I asked. She frowned, defensive.
No, not at all. I've wanted to be free of it for years.
I nodded. That's why it wanted me, a fresh soul to feed on. It was done with you. I saw it tonight. Lucky for me, I battle happiness like most people battle depression or anger, I said, half joking.
That makes no sense.
She replied. Sure it does. I fight against being happy. It makes me soft. When the Norton tried to manipulate me, it had no leverage. I played it, made myself angry, sad, on purpose. Once it saw through the act, it let me go mostly. It doesn't want either of us anymore. Lila stared, still puzzled. It's simple, I explained. The energy we put into it gets amplified, reflected back at us. A feedback loop. Think of a coil pack with no discharge. The windings build energy until it explodes. We crash. I paused. I figured it out when I saw its projections and your eyes. They looked like an old 60s film, matching your frame of reference when you bonded with the Norton. I glanced at her. When you saw my past, what did it look like? She hesitated, catching on.
Tiny squares, flat, mostly in the shape of a rectangle.
We both glanced through the window at the plasma screen in the bar.
That's far out,
She said, awestruck. Right? I grinned, enthusiastic. Shit's crazy, I added, tone dropping. But before we go further, Red, I need to know. Why'd you recommend me? I asked, dead serious, shifting the mood.
I watched you.
She said bluntly, a hint of remorse in her voice.
I heard people talk about your problem-solving skills. I had a problem and I thought you were a Lothario.
I blinked. A what?
A Lothario, someone who uses women like Calvin did.
She said, ashamed. Fair enough, I replied.
I'm sorry.
She whispered, her hand caressing my face toward hers.
I was so wrong. You're amazing.
Tears of regret slid down her cheek. I leaned in, whispering in her ear. It settled then. We worked together from now on. I turned to the Ducati. Time to get you home, Red. I grabbed her hand, leading her to the bike.
How's this gonna work?
She asked, scared. I'm not sure, but I've got a feeling it will, I said. Trust me. Trust the Ducati. Abandon the Norton for good. Hope, purpose, protection, freedom. That's what the Ducati feeds on, Red. That's her secret. I tried to hand her my helmet, then froze. After a beat of awkward silence, we both burst into laughter at the absurdity. Right, I said, playing it off.
You're cute when you embarrass yourself.
She teased with a smirk. The Ducati fired up with a roar. I threw my leg over and mounted her, Lila sliding on behind me.
You're the first man I've ever been a back warmer for,
she said. I glanced back.
I always rode my own, but I can get used to this.
Her arms wrapped tight around me, her warm smile lighting up her face. I blew her a teasing kiss, then cracked the throttle and dumped the clutch, tearing out of Rusty's lock. The Ducati roared into the silent night as we rode together for the first time. She wasn't kidding. Her arms felt warm, comforting. I could get used to that, too. At the shop, she hopped off, buzzing.
That ride was groovy.
She shouted, childlike excitement in her voice. I couldn't help but hear the opening verse of Sublime's 40 ounces to freedom in my head. Geez, Red, you really are a blast from the past, I said.
What's an alpha widow?
She asked, still laughing. You've got a lot of catching up to do, Red, I said with a chuckle, her face beaming with excitement. I couldn't help but notice the first light of dawn piercing the fading darkness, its gentle rays casting a faint shimmer across her figure, as if the morning light were slowly unraveling the edges of her presence. I tuned it out of my thoughts, chuckling over her manic laughter as I pulled open the bay door. Then, silence. I turned back. She was gone, like she'd never been there. I stared at the Ducati's headlight. Nothing. My shoulders slumped, demoralized, helmet slipping from my hand to the ground. I turned to walk into the bay, but as I stepped into the dark, a flash from the Ducati's turn signals lit up the space. I spun around. They were off. You fucking tease, I muttered, a twisted smirk tugging at my lips.
You're not very sexy acting like a lost puppy, Riley.
I knew it. That song is gonna haunt me forever now. From Reaper's creepers, the unknown retreats, and the shadows release you, for now. Join us again to drift deeper into the dark.